Wow. Man of Steel turns 10 years old today. Can you believe that Henry Cavill's introduction as Superman is now a decade old? Yeah, so much was going on with this film. I remember Smallville just ended its 10-year run. I was so excited that Tom Welling would maybe be on film. And I remember being upset when he wasn't, it was right after Green Lantern, and then we have Henry Cavill, which I wasn't really too familiar with. You had the Tudors, he was on the Count of Monte Cristo when he was younger. I wasn't too familiar with his work, but he looked like the Alex Ross Superman. He is one of the best incarnations of the Man of Steel, and he made Superman relevant again. Smallville helped keeping Superman alive, but Henry Cavill on film reinvented the character for a new generation. If Christopher Reeve was a 20th century Superman, Henry Cavill was a 21st century Superman. I remember the teaser on The Dark Knight Rises. It had the music from the Thin Red Line. I was like, this looks interesting. And I was a fan of Zack Snyder since Dawn of the Dead 300, and Watchmen was one of my favorite movies around that time. It still is. And a wonderful comic book adaptation. And we had trailer 2. But it wasn't until right when Iron Man 3 came out, that summer of 2013, that I saw trailer 3, and it just blew me away. With Hans Zimmer's music, Henry Cavill's performance, seeing Michael Shannon as Zod, Diane Lane and Kevin Costner as Jonathan Martha Kent, seeing Amy Adams as Lois, Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White. This was something that was just so cool to see. It was realistic. Superman actually packed a punch. You could see what somebody with his power would be like in a grounded real world. And with Christopher Nolan producing right after the Dark Knight trilogy, I was excited to see this movie. And I did. It blew me away when we saw it in real 3D. But it wasn't until my second viewing, the day after, where I saw it in 2D and fell in love with this film. Man of Steel is a film that I saw the most times in theaters, along with Dark Knight Rises. Both films I saw 8 times in cinemas. And I took my nephews, I took my niece, I saw it by myself multiple times. And it was just so great seeing a 21st century Superman. Now, do I have some reservations about it? Yeah, I kind of wish he'd try to save his father. With or without powers, that tornado scene I still call bullshit on. But I can respect it because I know what Zack Snyder was trying to do. I know Jonathan saying that the world isn't ready. There is a lot of themes that were set up in this film that were explored in BVS and in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And did I know it was going to be the start of the DCEU? The start of the Zack Snyder's Justice League trilogy? No. No idea whatsoever. I think the original plan was to have solo Superman films and then build to a bigger universe. Would they have been better? Absolutely. But it was a start of something great with Henry Cavill. And it's just kind of somber reflecting on this film 10 years later, seeing what happened with BVS with the 30 minutes cut, seeing what happened with the Snyder cut situation, seeing his triumphant return in Black Adam only to be squandered by James Gunn having reboot plans and getting rid of Henry Cavill, seeing the DCEU 10 years later, seeing how it's going to be treated in The Flash, whether it be remembered or just erased. And that's sad, to say the least, but one thing you can never take away, you may wonder what could have been. You can never take away what was and what is, and that is the power of Man of Steel 10 years later down the road. It broke conventions by not redoing the origin tale again, telling us bits and pieces of Clark Kent's upbringing and flashbacks, showing a different version of General Zod. Hell, that opening with the explosion is why I bought this on Blu-ray. That's such a fantastic opening with Russell Crowe's Jor-El. For a scientist, he sure packs a punch. I love this opening and how we see the destruction of Krypton. It's not the crystals that we see in Christopher Reeve's Krypton. No, it's a much more alien, organic Krypton, much more in line with some of the comics. And then seeing the symbol of hope, seeing that first flight sequence, seeing how he meets Lois. This is basically Independence Day. It's an alien invasion movie with Superman. Just imagine Independence Day if it had Superman, and that is Man of Steel. The Battle of Smallville is iconic. There's so many nods and references to other Superman media, whether it's TV shows, films, or even the comic books. And then the Battle of Metropolis was just unreal. That was like seeing a comic book fight come to life. And the music with Arcade. Terraforming is one of my favorite tracks on this soundtrack. I got the deluxe edition soundtrack, the Steelbook one, before this film came out and fell in love with the score. And I saw it over the course of the summer, got me the toys, read Superman comics. Like, I was just in love with Superman. And I later on got this on Blu-ray when it came out, I think around October-ish. I watched it on my laptop at the time, had a DVD-ROM. You remember when laptops and personal laptops had disk drives? Yeah, that far back. And I enjoyed it. Got me a Superman hoodie. I went to UT. It was my second year there. I had a film archive course, and we took a visit to the IMAX. We actually got to see the projector room, and the projectionist saw me wearing this hoodie, and he's just like, would you like to have a piece of the film? And that was so cool that I got some of the IMAX film. Unfortunately, during the moves and stuff, it got damaged a little bit, but I still have a portion of the film saved up here. But that was such a happy moment, having a piece of the first flight sequence. And what it set up with BVS, again, the ups and downs of the Snyder cut and seeing his triumphant return, seeing that vision realized. This is a film that got unfairly treated, I felt, regarding Zod. Could there have been another way to maybe put him in the Phantom Zone? Absolutely. But Christopher Reeve killed Zod with a smile, didn't feel bad about it, and people did not criticize it or ridicule it as much as this film. What about the property damage? The next Avengers is talking about property damage. Let's save the people. Yeah, you save the people until you let a freaking landmass the size of a continent fall and kill a bunch of people. Why do you think Baron Zemo exists? Superman wasn't even there. He was in the Indian Ocean fighting the World Engine, which I still think today is Brainiac. There are moments, yes, this film has flaws, but there are moments that were overly criticized. The term plot hole started being used for no reason whatsoever, without the proper use of it, the definition of it. People didn't even know what the definition of a plot hole was. They started saying everything was a plot hole, even though there wasn't. I think if any other director did this, it would be much more appreciated. For some reason, people just have a problem with Snyder. He is a very polarizing filmmaker, but you know what? He has a vision and he has a style. And that's something you can't take away. Love him or hate him, you can't take away the artistry of this film and the craft. And to me, it's one of my favorites with the first two Richard Donner movies. With Superman 2 Richard Donner and the 78 film Man of Steel is up there. And I would have loved to see more of the solo Superman universe. I love the DCEU. I love the Justice League stuff. But I would have loved more Henry Cavill's Superman. It's just a shame they'll never get a sequel with him fighting Brainiac or have him interacting with Supergirl. I don't know how the Flash movie is going to be, but overall, I just wanted to reflect on this film 10 years later. I have a full review up on the channel you could check out, but this was such an iconic film that year that I just highly enjoyed, and it's still one of my favorites. I love rewatching time and time again. So many moments. And I think Henry Cavill, and not only was a breakthrough performance for his career, but he redefined what the character meant, and so did Zack Snyder. It showed us what would happen if a Superman existed in our world. And that's one thing I always love about this film series, is that it explores that. It explores our society. Look at how we are now. Hell, how we were then. It's amplified more with the toxicity and negativity of social media, firearms, just different laws being passed, how we treat one another, dealing with the economy, famine. I mean, in a world without a Superman, it was nice seeing a world and what it would have been like if a Superman did exist, you know? And even though he wasn't entirely like previous incarnations, he's much more closer to the comics and other incarnations than people would like to give credit. He was optimistic. It's his first time starting out. I saw that there. And the ending shows so much promise with him being Clark Kent. Welcome to the planet. I love that line. I love it where he fights Zod. And he's just like, you're a monster, Zod, and I'm going to stop you. Such a cool moment. A wonderful solo Superman film. And I love Superman Returns, but this is the exact opposite of that. And I think that's part of my frustration, is that people want Christopher Reeve's Superman. This isn't Christopher Reeve's Superman. You had that with Superman Returns, and you hated it. You wanted him to punch, you wanted action. Now that you got that, you want the other Superman. Fans don't know what the hell they want. And the sad thing is, I think both are, in essence, Superman, in a way. Different aspects of the character from the comic books. And this film just does not get enough credit at all. And I think with cookie cutter franchise films going forward, what's been going on now, the staleness of the comic book genre, Man of Steel is going to be remembered going down the road as being different. Same thing with BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League. They're going to remember for being different, and because of that, they're unique, and because of that, they're going to still stand the test of time. This film and its successors are getting more love the older they get, and I think this film, I remember it 10 years ago. But this film's still going to be loved, and I think remembered in different ways more fondly moving forward. It will stand the test of time. Let me know your thoughts on Man of Steel, When did you first see it? Are you a fan of it? If you don't like it and don't like the Snyderverse stuff, don't be a negative prick. Just don't subscribe to my channel or comment on this. If you do have any negativity towards my subscribers and viewers out there, you're going to get blocked. I've just had enough of it the past 10 years. So share your Superman love down in the comments below. In the meantime, stay safe and healthy, everyone. And even though we don't have Henry Cavill as Superman, there'll always be more Superman. Someone told me a Superman and Batman existed before 2013 and 2016. That's true, the same way that Superman and Batman existed after 1978 and 1989. If you seek his monument, look around you. And I'll leave it at that. More people are going to continue to be the custodians of Superman. There's a reason why these characters are so everlasting, from comics to animation to film, television, and video games, is that they can adapt. They can always be different incarnations for different times. Every Superman actor has been superb, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm going to go watch this and listen to some arcade on my headphones for Man of Steel's 10-year anniversary. In the meantime, you can check out these other videos for more content. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Till next time.